Record. So this talk is not meant to be an introduction to BaZi. So if this is your first time tuning in, you're just going to have to bear with us. I found out that it's easier for me to just talk through the energy of the month rather than to write them out. And this also gives you an opportunity to ask questions live, and hopefully I can get through most of them. So welcome to this month's talk. Interestingly enough, today is September 5th, and it also happens to be the Rooster Day. So technically you can say that the Rooster Month begins today, because when you learn a little bit more about BaZi, you come to recognize that the energies are always pulling and pushing and intertwining with each other. And so sometimes it doesn't necessarily have to be on that particular day, although on the day it has some significance, particularly when we look at significant life events that may happen to you. But this is a very similar concept to, for example, when people are getting ready to transition into a new luck cycle, right? The new luck cycle will be the 10-year luck cycle. So oftentimes, probably around 3 or 4 years out, maybe a little bit closer to before the person transitioning into the new luck cycle, they begin to feel something is going to change, and there's not a whole lot of clarity there, but there's an intuitive sense that something is changing in their lives. And so we're just going to commemorate today as really the beginning of the Rooster Month. So like I mentioned earlier, if you missed last month's talk, you can catch it on YouTube under Feng Shui by Jen, and you can take a look at that. But I myself am personally delighted that we are out of the monkey month. The monkey month has its own volatility, its own sense of discomfort, only because it has a direct relationship with 2022, the year of the tiger. And so what is September all about? Well, maybe some of you are going to feel some relief that we're transitioning out of that monkey month. But the rooster, and when I say rooster, it's really September, the interchange, is really our entrance into the peak of this autumn season, the peak of the fall season. So imagine August, if you were to correlate this in nature, think of August as the beginning when the leaves, the colors of the leaves are starting to change, right? You start to see some oranges and some yellows. But September signifies the falling of the leaves. So now a slight breeze would throw all these leaves from the tree, and they're gonna head down to the ground, head down to the earth. And so just reflect on that for a moment and ask yourself, what were some of the things that manifested in August for you that symbolize sort of the discoloration in your life, or the changing of colors in your life, whether that's your diet, a thought, maybe a dream, a relationship, for instance. And now as we get ready to step into this September, the falling of the leaves mean it's the breaking of things. This is the true embodiment of letting go, of detaching, right? Of releasing. And so August is that preparation. So that's why there's an intensity to August, because it needed to jolt us, it needed to revive us, it needed to get our attention, so that we're focusing our eyes and our energy to that particular thing in our life, so that we can work through that. And then now, as we step into September, we're getting ready to say bye-bye. We're getting ready to release whatever that attachment is. Don't fight it, right? The leaves certainly don't fight it, right? It has an innate understanding that whatever falls and dies and decays and disintegrates into the earth eventually rebirths, right? It eventually comes back. And so the invitation here, before we move into the winter season, right, the water cycle, where there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of anxiety, but from that arises sort of this transformational period in your life, new wisdom, new knowledge, new insight, which then propels us, right, going into the new year, right, to 2023. So just think of this as a stepping stone, take a moment to really reflect on what were the top 1 or 2 things that occurred to you in August that represent sort of that discoloration or the changing, things are changing, things are shifting, and challenge yourself a little bit this year, or just this month really, to say, how can I release that and not be triggered? How can I release that and can come to a place of neutrality? Neutrality is where we don't have any emotions related to it. We're just at peace. And so that's the theme of September, if you think about that. It's the peak, right? It's the height of the metal season. And in Chinese medicine, metal is related to our breathing organs, but the rooster in particular has sort of more of a sensual connotation to it, because the rooster is a peach blossom star, which we'll talk about here in a second. So, peach blossom is all about attraction, sexuality, it's sort of this ultimate feminine beauty. And so it's related to our physical bodies in terms of our upper chest, our reproductive system, the skin, the teeth, and the bones. And so we want to pay attention to, I was going to say silly things, but it's not really silly. It's more like, how do I feel about myself? Am I where I want to be in life, and not just in life physically, but also innately in terms of my spiritual body? Do I feel beautiful? Am I doing beautiful things in life? Am I surrounded by beauty? Do I feel 100% sort of in my skin, if you will? And so those are the things I want you to pay attention to, as you move into this September energy. And because the fall season is also related to grieving, right? When we think of the seasonal blues, it's a real thing, because the climate around us, our environment is shifting. Even, the so-called vibes, right? The music and the decor are all starting to shift. It does propel us to have these certain emotions where we suddenly feel a little bit more melancholic, saying things like, oh, those were the days, or, oh, what could have been. And it's interesting, the last week I have had sessions with clients, and there's a lot of bringing up of old memories that I have discovered, sort of a theme that people are at the moment, of, oh, that lost love, or did I miss that opportunity, or that used to be so fun, right? All the things like that. And so when you find yourself in this space, don't be hard on yourself. Don't feel like you need to pull yourself out of it right away because you're supposed to be cheerful and happy. And, of course you're cheerful and happy, but you're also allowing yourself to be in alignment with the time that we're in, the season that we're in now, because energetically it's prompting you, it's inviting you to explore those emotions, not to run away from them, not to stuff them, right? Not to be in denial or shameful of them, but instead to just explore with it, right? And not necessarily in a toxic attachment kind of way, but just really saying, you know what, I miss my dad, or I miss that friend. And perhaps all of those types of thoughts and emotions will prompt you to pick up the phone and call that friend, or maybe go visit a loved one, or maybe to offer up a prayer for someone who died many, many years ago. So these are just things that we need to just be okay with, instead of trying to rush through those emotions. So that's a little bit of September. There's a couple things about the rooster element that we're gonna walk through, which we normally walk through during this time. So the rooster element, okay, is a clash to those who have a rabbit sign in your BaZi chart, okay? So for example, if you were born in the year of the rabbit, so these are just some examples, okay? Year of the rabbit, or if you were born on the month of the rabbit, so it would be anywhere from March 5th, 6th to April 5th or 6th. So if your birth month is within that time frame, then you do have a clash this coming September. And then if you were born in the rabbit hour, so that would be between 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. local time, you may have to consider daylight saving. If you're not sure, you can ask me. But the most intense kind of clash really occurs to those who were born on the day of the rabbit. And this is a little bit harder to derive. You actually need to put your birth date into a BaZi chart in order to see that. So if you know what yours are, then you can just refer to your chart and look and see, do I have a rabbit sign somewhere? If you don't know, then I may recommend that you perhaps explore looking at getting your BaZi chart read. And so you can understand that configuration a little bit more. So what's also interesting about this month is it will offer up a bit of a clue to 2023, okay? So if you have a rabbit sign, okay, in your BaZi chart, all right, and there's another one we're going to talk about, but that's going to be for a different talk. But particular right now, we're talking about the rabbit sign. If you do, it's going to offer up some preview, some clue, some insight to what 2023 has in store for you. So if you've done BaZi with me before, I've taken classes, you know that everything in BaZi is sort of just a collection of personal data. You know, you're the one that's living in your body, you're the one that's having all the experiences and all the encounters. So no other person can sort of compile the information better than you can. You just need some insight and guidance as to how to do that. So if this is you, all right, if any of these 4 bullet points apply to you, then I would also encourage you to, you know, observe with curiosity. All right, do not observe with panic. Okay, do not observe with like, I call it going psycho. Just observe with curiosity and openness to say, what kinds of conversations or opportunities are coming my way? What sort of things are truly like the falling of the leaves? Things are breaking apart in my life. Things are breaking apart in my relationships, or I'm experiencing, you know, sort of this jarring sensation of like not really clear as to what direction I'm going to. The last thing I want people to do when they learn BaZi is to manifest yucky stuff, okay? Because if you're doing that, then you're not even using the tools of manifestation correctly. But it's simply that sheer curiosity. It's almost like stepping outside of yourself and observing from the outside and saying, huh, that's interesting. And if I can have some clues as to what that means I actually am a step ahead, because then I know what tools I'm going to need, what kinds of resources I'm going to need, what types of people, how to prepare for 2023. So this is meant to be empowering. It's not meant to instill fear. Okay. So as many of you know, Clash is just chaos. It can mean chaos, change, right? A lot of twists and turns. Oftentimes clients will experience, disturbance of sleep, like they can't sleep well or they can't sleep deeply. They may also experience more vivid dreams, for example. You can't sit still, plans change. Sometimes you change your mind a lot and you're not sure, or you start to really doubt yourself. So when you're in this month, if let's say you are to make some big decisions this month, I'm not saying you don't make those big decisions. I'm just saying be open if things don't work out. Okay. The difference between a person that navigates Clash more successfully than another person that doesn't is their acceptance that you don't have control. The only thing that you control is your mind and your attitude. And so that's why people learn BaZi. It's like, okay, well, I know if I'm stepping into my Clash cycle and I have big things, I have contracts I have to sign, deals I got to close, moving into my house, whatever that big is, if you can give yourself a little slack and say, you know what, if things fall apart or delayed, I have to trust that there must be some other outer workings that I don't understand, and I have to just go with the flow, right? I don't need to make rash decisions to try to correct it, right? Or panic and start to implement plan B out of fear, or sometimes even out of pride, right? Because, well, I always get stuff done, and when it doesn't get done, I'm going to fix it. I mean, that's very much how we're driven culturally. So let me try and let one more person in here. So clash just, just be very mindful of your energy and your attitude. You can tend to be a little bit more short-tempered, a bit more impatient. So just, you know, communicating and being articulate in your needs. Maybe if you're married to someone or if you have a business partner, and say, hey, you know what? I just have a feeling that this month I might be a little bit off. I might be a little bit, scatterbrained. I'm just asking you to please extend me a little bit of compassion and patience, and I'll do my best to communicate where I'm at. So these are the energy of clash. Now, as you know, clash can also provoke accidents, things of that nature, things that, whether that's on the road or, you twist your ankle and things of that nature. But I find that in practice, most of that kind of clash happen with other elements. Rooster, the rooster element and the rabbit element, to me, the clash energy focuses more on relationships, like between people. Why? Because the rooster and the rabbit are both peach blossom elements. And so peach blossom is all about, like I said, love and relationships, interpersonal connections. So this is your family, your clients, your business associates, network, parishioners, whatever, anything involving people. And when they clash, that means there's a shift occurring in that area of your life. So if you have a clash this month, hopefully you know your chart, then you know that the energy of September is inviting you to perhaps evaluate your relationships in your life. If things like sudden arguments or the falling out happen, or maybe there's a reemergence of an old relationship that suddenly pop up. Like I had a client that goes, my sister, I haven't talked to her in 6 years, suddenly showed up. These are things, these are the gifts of a clash between the rabbit and the rooster, okay? So it's not really so much about like car accidents and getting conked in the head, although that can still happen. I mean, Madonna, when she was riding a horse, she fell off the horse and she broke, like, I think she hurt her vertebrae or something. That happened during the rooster and the rabbit clash, only because the rabbit means small bones in our bodies, okay? So when you learn more about BaZi, you learn how the elements apply to different parts of our body. So small bones like your fingers, your ankles, things of that nature. So if you do have a clash, just take your time, take a breath, don't be in a hurry and start like freaking out, okay? I'll take questions in a little bit, but I just wanted to show a couple of examples, when you have your BaZi chart. So this is an example of a BaZi chart. So this person, for instance, was born in the hour of the rabbit. This is less intense because it's in the hour pillar, but as you know, the hour pillar is related to young children or our clients and subordinates, young people in our lives. So when you have a clash like that, it could mean that there is some conflict or misunderstanding or growth opportunities that might involve, your clients, subordinates, your students, or your children, grandchildren, or young people in your life. And then, of course, then you also have some people that were, like born on the year of the rabbit, and then they may have multiple rabbits in their chart. This is an example of what we call a double clash, right? Double clash means you get hit twice because you have the same Chinese character. So when people ask me, well, is the double clash worse than one clash? Yes, because it's double the fun, right? So these types of people need to be extra careful, because now not only does it impact one area of your life, but it hits multiple areas in your life. So there's a lot more conflict, a lot more going on. So just being a little bit more mindful in how you're interacting with others, how you're caring for your body. None of us are immune to clash, okay? A lot of us experience that even on a day-to-day basis. Some of these examples could be like, you can't find your car keys, or someone stole your purse, or your car broke down, or you missed your exit and you forgot your appointment. Like, these little mishaps have meaning. But now, instead of just a day of discomfort, you have the whole month. Okay, so you're just being a little bit more conservative, a little bit more mindful as to what you're doing. Now, of course, the most intense kind of clash is always the clash that hit our day pillar. Okay, so this is the day that you were born if you have a rabbit sign, because the day represents everything that you cherish. That's very, very important. The day pillar is also called, we refer to that as the house, palace, house. So imagine you in your house. If you have a house or you have a place to shelter, it's a place that keeps you safe. It's a place that that contains your dreams and your fears, the people that you love, right? All the things that are associated with what you put in your house. And when it has a clash, it means it impacts the house. Just imagine it's like a mini earthquake that rocks your house a little bit. Okay, so some people may experience a single clash, like maybe, oh, I got hit with an IRS tax bill, so it affected my finances. Now, other people can have multiple things, like, oh, I got hit with an IRS bill and my husband and I got into a huge fight, and I found out that my blood pressure is not so good this month. So you have relationship, you have money, and then you have the health aspect. So the severity or the magnitude or the multiplicity of the clash really depends on how grounded the person is. Okay, what do I mean by that? How grounded means how well is your finance put together? How healthy is your relationship? How good are you at taking care of your health? So that's why, as practitioners, we always advise people, when you're getting ready to move into a longer period clash, for example, like a 1-year clash or a 10-year clash, you always want to prepare. You say, how am I setting myself up in the best way possible so that when I move into this clash time, I'm equipped to take care of business, right? So if I'm obese and I hate everybody and I have a bad attitude and I squander my money and all the things, and I'm not spiritually grounded, I believe in nothing, then when the clash comes, I am less inclined, or in a less, not in the best position to really feel strong, to persevere during that clash time. So if you have a clash and you have more questions, you want to talk more specifically about your chart, again, I would suggest doing a BaZi chart, because then it's easier to talk specifics. But these are just some of the examples that we look at for clash. Okay. All right, now we're moving into peach blossom, which is a little bit more fun. We're getting from yucky to fun and funnest, okay? So peach blossom, it applies to you. September is peach blossom to you if you were born in the year or the day of monkey, dragon, and rat, okay? So here's an example. If you were born in the year of the monkey, all right, or year of the dragon, or year of the rat, if you have this in your chart, then September is your peach blossom, okay? Again, the day pillar is a little bit more complicated, so you actually have to have a BaZi chart in order to see that, okay? So what do you do with your peach blossom? Well, peach blossom is really all about social networking. It's all about the recalibration of relationship. It's, if you're single, it's time to mingle. If you've been married for 1,000 years, it's time to re-fall in love. Okay. If you're a business owner, it's time to launch that new thing. Perhaps doing more marketing, putting yourself out there. It's a great time to go interview. It's a good time to ask for that promotion. To see friends, to be a little bit more extroverted, to be more outgoing. It's all about relationships. Now, remember what I said, if you have a clash, and if it's also your peach blossom, that means the element could also be forcing you to have a realization or sort of a recognition of any toxicity in your relationships. Okay. So I have a lot of people, sometimes they come to me and go, so much for that peach blossom. I broke up with my boyfriend, or like my friend and I had a falling out, or there was a lot of miscommunication and I felt betrayed, blah, blah, blah. That's also the workings of the peach blossom, but there's blessings in that. Okay. So just kind of go into this month and really, I would say, try to connect that with August, and ask yourself, the discoloration in my leaves or the changing of colors, what in particular is connected to people, right? And perhaps coming into this month, it is asking me to let it go, right? To let go of that negative relationship, or to let go of that negative, interaction with someone that you work with or someone that you care about. Okay, so that's peach blossom. And these are just some examples of people who were born with a peach blossom, meaning if you have this, that means you're inherently very charming and charismatic. This is very good for people who work in the public, like become public figures. Sometimes if you're a business owner, this goes to your advantage, because then the branding is also who you are. It's using your voice, your interaction with the public. Greta Garbo, for example, she was born on the day of the monkey, and you see that she has a rooster in her chart. So she was already born with a peach blossom. And so this is Kate Middleton. Okay, you see she was born on the day of the dragon, and she has a rooster. So that's why she is very charming, very influential, very fashionable, very engaging to people. People are drawn to you. So when you have this in your chart, the encouragement is to put yourself out there, to not be afraid to connect with people. Of course, to some level of, boundaries. You don't want to be attracting negative relationships, but this is a gift. Okay, if you're born with it, better use it, because it's already a part of you. And, like this is another actress, Monica. Whew, I don't know what happened to my cursor, but you see that she was born in the year of the dragon. Okay, remember the 3 signs: monkey, dragon, and rat, right? So she was born in the year of the dragon, and she also has a rooster sign. So she is also, you can see, very beautiful woman, right? And plays a lot of great roles in Hollywood. And this is finally Prince Harry. And Prince Harry was born in the year of the rat, but he was also born on the day of the rat. So he has 2 rat signs, and he also has a rooster. So what's interesting about Prince Harry was that he got engaged, fell in love, got engaged with Meghan Markle in the year of the rooster, which was 2017. So you see, the year was his peach blossom, and that's the year he fell madly in love and decided to take the relationship to the next level. Okay, so this is an example to you. Again, if this applies to you, then you can be asking yourself, all right, well, if it applies to me, how do I take my relationships to the next level? Okay, maybe it's finally saying yes to a business partnership proposal. Maybe it's saying yes to, I don't know, getting more serious if it feels good. So just paying attention around what that means for you. Okay, finally, we get to the nobleman, which is all of our favorites because we know the nobleman is so helpful. This only applies to this month, September. It only applies to those who were born again in the year or the day. So you're going to have to look at your BaZi chart, where if you have a yang fire sign or a yin fire sign. So these are the 2 Chinese characters. Or if you were born in the years ending 6 or 7. Okay, so if you were born in 1987, then that means September is your nobleman. All right, and this is wonderful, a great time to again, the meaning of noblemen are things like hidden blessings, a lot of help and support are coming your way. It's also a period of correction, right? So if you made a wrong decision or something wasn't done in the right way, nobleman is also encouraging you to correct the course of action, right? And sometimes the correction can be a conk in the head. Sometimes it's very jolting, where it pushes you in a different direction. So if it is your nobleman, I want you to stay really open and stay really grounded in that. Also to ask for help. So what to do if this is your nobleman? I think it helps to have some clear, concise, achievable goals, okay? So that you know precisely, and it's elevated to your awareness on what it is that you want to get done. You know, what do you want to accomplish this month? So some sense of clarity around that is useful. Ask for help. Okay, it's humbling to ask for help, but help comes, right? And people want to help, opportunities show up. So I think the first and second bullet are really tied together, because it's really hard to know what to ask for if you don't really know what you're looking for, what you want to accomplish. It's also a great time to take risk when you're under the protection of noblemen. Obviously, you want to be courageous and calculative. You don't want to be reckless. Like, I'm not going to start driving a motorcycle, you know, beside the cliff with no helmet going, you know, 150 miles an hour. No, I'm not talking about that. But it is time to put yourself out there. Okay, it's time to suck it up and muster up the courage to do something that scares you, to do something that really pushes your limits. Being open to new people, right, is really important, because you don't know if your nobleman is a stranger. You don't know if the nobleman is just passing through in your life. Sometimes a nobleman is an important person that has a steady presence in your life, but not always. So be open to meeting new people. Let me just check what's going on. My computer is a little bit delayed here. Let's see. Okay, so, and then saying yes to new opportunities. Sometimes a lot of people, you know, you're so tunnel vision as to what you want to do in life, you kind of miss the peripheral, you know. We do our best to see the peripheral, but you can't see two things at once. And so just paying attention. Maybe someone showed up and offered an idea. Maybe someone came up and gave you a lead to something. And it's not always about saying yes without thinking them through, you know, and discerning them properly, but it's giving yourself the chance to perhaps say yes to something that wasn't there before. Okay, so this is really, really important to pay attention to. In particular, nobleman is also, I call the time to pull the trigger. If you've been dreaming and thinking and analyzing and, you know, just over planning, man, when that nobleman shows up, you got to just go for it. It's time to do it. Okay. And then, and I have that here somewhere in the last bullet point, but, and also to try again. A lot of clients say, oh, I tried that, it didn't work. You know, oh, I interviewed for that job, I didn't get the job. You know, I tried that marketing gimmick, it didn't work. Try again. You know why? Because maybe the time that you did, it wasn't necessarily your nobleman, and it was a different season in your life. Maybe you were in a different luck cycle. It was certainly a different year. And so giving yourself an opportunity to try again. Okay, it's really, really important. And then at the end of it, you take all the actions that you need and you leave the rest to faith. You know, you kind of go, I've done everything I needed to do. Now I can just leave the rest out there and allow it to play how it is. If you can do these things, then you know you can actually say, I did the best that I could. And I did everything in my power to take advantage of the opportunities that came to me. I was very well aware of everything that was happening. And in the rest, I just let it fall where they may. Okay. So that's the nobleman. Famous stories, just a couple of examples for fun, since we're doing this talk. I don't know if you've seen the movie Captain Phillips, but it's based on a true story of a real captain who was abducted by pirates somewhere in like the Sea of Africa or whatever. But what's interesting about Captain Phillips was he was in this luck cycle, 53 to, you know, if you follow BaZi, he was 53 to 63 during this luck pillar, which is the luck of the pig, which happened to be his 10-year nobleman. Okay, 10-year nobleman. And when he was abducted, you know, April 7, 2009, you know, he was 54 years old. So he was at the start of this nobleman. These were not favorable elements for him. They're very spiritual, they're void and empty, and too much fire. Okay, too much fire, not so favorable to his BaZi because he doesn't need fire. It's an unfavorable element. But then, 5 days later, if you watch the movie, he is rescued and he's well and alive. It also happened to be the day of the pig. It was the day that he was rescued. An extraordinary rescue story of how two Navy SEALs shot two bullets synchronistically at the same time, fired it, killed the two pirates in a moving buoy, and saved his life. And this is what we call the classic double nobleman, because he had the nobleman luck and then he had the nobleman day. So there are countless of these stories of significant, monumental, life-changing, OMG kind of stories that, imagine, it will change his life forever. And so I'm encouraging everybody, if this month is not your nobleman, you will have a nobleman. Okay, we cycle in and out of our nobleman cycle. So just always remember that if you're going through a difficult time, a time where you feel like you can't come out of the surface, things are not going your way, just trust that the nobleman will resurface. But at the same time, you also need to be proactive and be responsible in how you're taking care of yourself in the meantime. Obviously, he had no choice. That's his career, right? Putting himself in danger. So that's Captain Phillips. And this is, I don't know if you're old enough to remember this, but this is a young girl. She became famous because she fell. I think she fell in a well or something like this. And the day that she fell happened to be her clash, accident, unexpected event, right? And it also happened to be her traveling star. So traveling star means you're traveling, you're mobile, right? And she was, I don't know how she got there, what happened, but she fell, but she didn't die. She fell, I forget how many feet, did not die. And she survived for 4 days as a little girl, barely, like, what is she, a year and a half? And the day that she was rescued was her nobleman day. Okay, so these stories apply to people like Elizabeth Smart, Captain Sully, but also so many kind of things that are not even published, with ordinary people, how it happens. So I'm just sharing these things to you to show you that dramatic and scary things can happen where you think you're gonna die or you think it's the end. But then the angels, they do surface. And so if you're not necessarily in a place of death, right, you're just living your life day to day and you have a nobleman coming, this is how you really want to optimize and embrace it, okay? And try to be fully aware of these kinds of situation. Okay, so that's it. That's the presentation. Let me see here. I think there's a question. I'm gonna try and open this. My computer is having a little bit of a delay. Otherwise, if you're comfortable, you're free to unmute yourself and just ask your question. Sunny asks, would that also be true with horse rat? Yes, that's correct. Okay. Okay, so obviously, if we're 5 months before we transition into the rabbit year. So it might be time to get a refresher. It might be time to just recalibrate, or if you just want to revisit the season and how to better prepare and kind of finish out the year with a big bang. Remember that the Tiger year is the year of innovation and new beginnings, but it has the energy of a little puppy, where we're kind of scattered. We don't know the rules and all the things, but there is a lot of momentum building up going into 2023. And so if you want to have your own personal BaZi read, or you want to gift it to someone for the holidays or monumental life events, we also offer gift certificates. So I'm going to stay on for 5 minutes to answer any questions. Otherwise, have a great Labor Day weekend. Okay, there's a question. Okay, Christine asked about the stock market and economy for September. Well, we are moving into the fall season, and the fall season is more of a downward season. I haven't really kept up with the stock market all year, only because the behavior of the stock market is not in full alignment with the BaZi element. I don't know if I explained this in August, the August talk, or maybe I was talking to a client. But it might be a better conversation to have in private, because there's a lot of questions in terms of like what industries, you know, what are your short-term, long-term goals for the question. And so that might be a little bit more prudent than to make a general statement, only because there's some anomalies going on, especially as we are moving into period 9, you know, in Feng Shui in 2024. So there's a lot of things that are shifting, and a lot of unexpected things are happening. Okay. Okie dokie. Bye, everyone. See you soon.
Thanks, Jen.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Jen.
Bye-bye.
Bye. You're still good on mute.
Thank
Okay.
you.